This is an integrated social studies and literacy unit focusing on the stories of civil rights. Students will have the opportunity to uncover stories about the people and events of the civil rights movement in order to better understand the social justice issues of our communities and the world. And then they'll also have a chance to make decisions about the action they can take to make the world a more equitable and just place for all citizens. So we will explore the following enduring understandings by answering these essential questions. First we'll explore some history enduring understandings. Knowledge of the past helps one understand the present and make decisions about the future. We'll explore how can we know if we weren't there, what we can learn about the past, whose story is being told, um, and how and why do beliefs change, how the world has changed and how it might change in the future, and how the past is related to what is happening now. Another enduring understanding we will explore is people respond to and resolve conflicts in a variety of ways. So we will answer the questions, how can an individual make a difference in history, and what is worth fighting for? We'll also look at some civics enduring understandings. Examining social and civic issues helps us to expand understanding of the world and its people and themselves. So we will answer the questions about what are the consequences if I do not accept my personal responsibilities to my community, how do my actions impact others in my community, and how can I impact social change. To introduce the unit, we will use the poetry of Langston Hughes and Nikki Giovanni and Maya Angelou. Um, and these poems will prompt our discussions and inquiries about civil rights. One of the most powerful ways, I think, to experience poetry is to hear the poets read their works. So I found some recordings of Maya Angelou reading her poem, her most famous one, From the Dust I Rise. And then I also found a recording of Langston Hughes in an old radio show reading I Too Sing America. And this also has an explanation by the host of the radio show talking about what was going on at the time. So, at the heart of this unit is examining the numerous ways the events of the past are told through multiple modes. And one way to do this examination is to think like a historian and use those skills of historical thinking. So, we'll have a lesson on how we think like historians using historical thinking, sourcing, observing, contextualizing, and corroborating our information that we find. So in the beginning, we will need to review the necessary comprehension skills needed to do this kind of work. So we will have a lesson on that. So after that, we'll be ready to begin our work as historians and ethnographers. And technology will allow us to go beyond the walls of our classroom and our communities to museums where these rich resources are archived. And this is what we will use in our inquiry. So we will start off looking at Norman Rockwell's The Problem We All Live With, which is in the collections of the Norman Rockwell Museum in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. We will also travel to the National Civil Rights Museum in Memphis, Tennessee. And there we will collect some primary sources that will help us discover the many stories of this movement. So our technology tools we'll be using will include the music of the era and video clips that tell the oral histories of people who experienced the civil rights movement and segregation and Jim Crow laws. And we will examine the stories of the freedom riders and people that were involved in that. And as we're gathering and examining these materials, we'll be continually asking whose story is being told and whose voice is left out, and really interrogating the perspectives of the people involved in order to come to some conclusions about what these stories can teach us. About how we can make an impact on our world through our actions. So this is a pretty rich resource about the Freedom Riders, and one interesting video on here that I found was this one. Is the story of John Patterson, the governor of Alabama during this time, and he is known as a staunch segregationist. And he discusses his response to the Freedom Riders and his decision to refuse a phone call from President Kennedy when the Freedom Riders came into Birmingham. So we'll get to hear multiple perspectives on an issue. So we will share what we've learned using a few different tools. We'll be writing poems and songs as we listen to the music of the Civil Rights era, and then we will be doing our own research and sharing what we've learned there. So we'll be compiling all of this information into a digital scrapbook. And the Center for History and New Media is a site I discovered while doing this project, and it is quite a gold mine. I haven't had a chance to explore the whole piece, but the piece I'll be using is this research and tools piece. And if you go to that, you will see that there are all kinds of web tools available for doing all kinds of work with history. So tools for gathering information, tools for reporting information, collecting, and that. But we are going to be using what is called the Web Scrapbook. And it's a pretty easy tool to use. It's used a lot. It's a lot like Pinterest. So when I set up my account, I put two tabs on my taskbar up here so that when I'm doing my browsing website and looking at websites, I can go to a website and select a picture, and just select the picture and then click on the tab, and my image will be saved to my web scrapbook. So that's how those are all loaded. So I can upload images from websites, and I can upload links to the web page itself. I can also upload my own files, so we'll be able to upload our text that we create and our audio files that we create as well. So that will be all compiled there for us to share with others about what we have learned. And one nice thing about this is, as digital citizens, we have to be careful of how we're using copyrighted material, and this gives us some information on how that can be used, and guidelines for what can and cannot be used. But since it's used for educational, non-commercial purposes, most of the things that we collect in our web scrapbooks are can be used under fair use for educational, non-commercial purposes. So it has those guidelines there to make sure we are using our material responsibly. So through this unit, most importantly, what we hope to do is draw some conclusions about what all of these stories can teach us about our civic responsibility and how to make the world more just for everyone.